an intellectual guide to slam metal. Now, this is obviously inspired by Coolia's video, An Ignorant Guide to Slam Metal, but I think that was more an ignorant guide with an intellectual approach. I'll be doing an intellectual guide with an ignorant approach. I'll kind of start with the origins, but that's not going to be the meat of this video. Slam is a more extreme version of brutal death metal. You know, everyone knows it was started by Liege of Inveracity by Suffocation, but a lot of those founding slam bands, Skinless, Mortician, Devourment, they're a mix between brutal death metal and slam. They don't go all the way. Like Cephalotripsy, Internal Bleeding, Brodequin, those are more actual slam. And in the modern day, they're sort of branching off into like true slam, you know, very heavily inspired by their roots. And then the other is like more modern, inspired by deathcore almost. A band like Corpse Pile would be more like in the following their roots category. And then like Organectomy, Facelift Deformity, Orbital Gate, stuff like that is more in the modern side. Next topic I want to cover, what makes slam slam? There's a lot of answers to this question, okay? The main one, the most important one that makes slam slam is the presence of a slam. And that's like a really slow, chuggy section in the song. You know, Liege of Inveracity started that. And sticking with the guitars, you need the ugliest, grimiest, dirtiest tone while still maintaining just a little bit of note definition. Now, drums kind of gets interesting. The main thing is the real pingy snare, the snare bomb, if you will. But some other elements would be more in terms of like the other parts. You know, there's a lot of blast beats, but there's also some really slow parts and some kind of complex rhythms almost. It's very strange. It's odd. These songs get weird. The drums can get surprisingly complex. For the vocals, for the exhales, they usually just get like the lowest guttural that they can hold. And there's also somewhat of a presence of pig squeals. And for the inhales get really interesting because they're so versatile. You know, some people will do like a snarl, like a like a snarl almost. Then there's like the classic, you know, that's the classic. And then there's also the pig squeals with the inhales as well. I'm going to circle back to the guitars because I want to talk about the riffs now. Okay, so there's a presence of a chromatic scale. You know, for me, I do perfect fourths in like the chugs, like the knocked loose thing. But it's usually in a drop tuning, so they'll do it in a perfect fifth. But yeah, there's a presence of chugs, just a lot of chromatic scale, like boom, 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 ding, 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 ding. You know, just a bunch of like chuggy shit. Okay, a lot of pinch harmonics, but not too many. You know, you gotta keep the pinch harmonics to an acceptable level. You can't overdo it with the pinch harmonics. And of course, you got like the slam purists who are like, no tremolo picking, no singular notes allowed. That's dumb. I think slam should be more than just chugs. On one of my songs, I branched out. I was trying to make technical slam metal. There was like a sweep picking harmony at the start of it. It was awesome. And I think for the end, I want to end with some recommendations. And I more prefer the more modern stuff, the stuff that maybe slam purists wouldn't even consider slam. Maybe they would consider it deathcore or something. But yeah, my personal opinion, I like those. So like Organectomy, Analepsy, Abominable Putridity. I love Abominable Putridity. Facelift Deformity. I think I mentioned them already. Vulvodynia is really cool. They incorporate a lot of elements. They're not even like strictly slam at this point. Orbital Gate. Fuck with Orbital Gate. Anyways, that's the video. Intellectual guide to slam metal, but not really.